noise and drama that is unfolding in the Punjab Congress Party, don't forget there is a bigger national issue that we have to talk about, an issue about our national security, about our borders with China and what our neighbors seems to be constantly doing, constantly provoking, constantly transgressing, and reports of incursions or some or the other kind of violation, provocation coming in from China. And it's not even the Ladakh sector this time. It's not even in Sikkim this time. It's actually in Uttarakhand. According to a report by the Economic Times, in latest move of Chinese troops, about 100 Chinese soldiers, along with military horses, about 50 military horses, actually crossed the border at Barahoti in Uttarakhand last month. They came, they were there for a bit, and they went back as if to drive home a point. Intelligence sources have told Economic Times the troops damaged some infrastructure, including a bridge as well, before retreating 3 hours later. Over 100 soldiers from China transgressed the boundaries into our territory, damaged infrastructure, and went back. And we will tell you how there's been tension along the border, even in Uttarakhand, for a while now. But let's first go across to Manu Pabi of Economic Times, who reported this story. Manu, take us through the details. We understand this actually took place a month ago.
It actually took place on the 30th of August. And, Barahoti is an area which has had some minor border issues in the past. But this time around, it's almost unprecedented. About 100 soldiers came in. They spent about 3 to 4 hours at Barahoti, transgressing about 5 to 7 kilometers inside the Indian side of the LAC. And they managed to damage a bridge which we have constructed for movement of troops. And, they left telltale signs and they went back. Now, there was no confrontation, no face-off this time, because by the time the information reached our troops, and by the time they reached there, Chinese had left. Now, this area is a demilitarized zone. There's not supposed to be any army movement there. There's not supposed to be any permanent posts there. That's the reason the Chinese could come in. Thankfully, they did not stay. They went back. So, it is not like Galwan, in which they came and sat down. But it is definitely a signal that even Barahoti, Uttarakhand, which has been a relatively peaceful place, as compared to Sikkim and Ladakh, might be, there has to be more vigilance there now, since they have, done this large-scale movement of troops.
So, since this incident, Manu, what has been our response? You indicated that the security has been stepped up, or of course will have to be done in this demilitarized zone as well. But has this been taken up with the Chinese counterparts? Is the government actually even, in your private conversations, admitting that this has happened?
See, there is no doubt that this happened. In fact, this was taken quite seriously. That I could figure out from security establishments. This incident was taken very seriously because, we are on a increased vigilance on the Chinese border generally because of the Ladakh issue. And after this incident took place, there has been soul searching. There has been a review of how come there was not enough intelligence available in advance to stop them from coming and what can be done. I think a step up of surveillance has been ordered already. There will be more caution there. But yes, this has caused a lot of concern at the higher levels of the government. There have been discussions to understand how this could happen because this time they came and went back. But God forbid in the future they come in such large numbers and set up a camp or tent there, then it becomes a serious situation because then we have to counter. So that intention, when it changes from just coming and damaging something and going back versus staying on, like what happened in Galwan and Pangong, so that is the danger. And I think the government is concerned about that. There have been review meetings and discussions on how to stop this in the future.
All right, Manu Pabi, thank you so much for bringing us this big story, for reporting this big story and also putting it in perspective. Now, let's look at the larger picture as well as I go across to the panelists who are joining me right now. So we have a face-off situation in Ladakh, which has now gone on for a year and a half. It peaked during the Galwan clash time. The disengagement process started several months ago, but it's still on. In fact, there's a bit of a hiccup there. And the Indian government recently gave a statement saying how China has been shifting goalposts as far as the conversations are concerned. So there is tension in Ladakh. We have reportedly told you about various transgressions and skirmishes and face-offs that are actually also happening in other parts along the border, and India and China share an extremely long border. So Ladakh is just one part where disengagement talks are on, but currently in a bit of a tricky situation. We also know reports have now suggested that across the border, though and not transgressing, but in autonomous Tibet, China is building more infrastructure. They're actually constructing an entire airfield. What is happening in Barahoti is the recent most information that we've got, though it happened a month ago, and it's happened here in the past as well. And then there are issues and skirmishes in Sikkim, in Arunachal Pradesh, that also keep cropping up. How do you deal with this situation, and how big a challenge is it for India when China won't listen, when China will blatantly lie, and when China will keep going back on its word? I say good evening to Captain Ganesh Karnik of the BJP, Adil Singh Bopara of the Congress Party, Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan joining me this evening, Mayank Singh of the Indian Express, and General D.S. Huda also joining me this evening. General Huda, let me start off with you. And this new development, I want to first talk about how do you view the report that Manu just got us about Uttarakhand and 100 soldiers from China actually coming in 5 kilometers deep into our territory there?
So Tanvi, let me just put things in perspective. Barahoti has been a demilitarized zone between India and China, which means no permanent posts either from the Chinese side or from the Indian side. Both sides have been patrolling, normally without weapons and normally not in uniform, but just to show our presence in those areas. I think what is different this time is the fact that the numbers are very large. So normally you would find patrols of 10, 12 from either side coming in. The numbers are very large. The depth to which they have come, 5 to 6 kilometers, is large, and the fact that they've damaged infrastructure. But I think this is a reflection of the larger issue of tensions which are brewing along the LAC. So I don't think we could look at this in isolation, but in the larger context of there have been tensions. Everybody looks at 2020, which is actually manifested in a big way. But tensions have been actually growing since Doklam 2017. So I think this is only a manifestation of the ongoing, should I say, strategic rivalry playing out between India and China.
Yes, oh yes, absolutely. And like you rightly pointed out, it has to be seen in the larger perspective as well as to what else is going along. Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan, before I come to you, let me see if I can actually go across to Mayank, who's joining us, because Mayank's also been tracking what's happening in Uttarakhand for a while now, and actually also reported on a similar, albeit relatively smaller incident, I understand, Mayank, which happened earlier. Yes, Mayank, I think you're on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you're right, actually. I mean, that was 5th of June last year. And it was 5th of May when the standoff started in Eastern Ladakh. But then, an entire LAC of 3,488 kilometers is divided into 3 sectors, which is Eastern, Central, and Western sector. So, the point to to notice is that Chinese have adopted a tactics of keeping you unnerved at various points, and which started with, let's say, Nakula. It started with Nakula in Sikkim, but then before that it was happening in Eastern Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh, and then after that, then Central sector. Often we hear that air violations are taking place, which is movement of UAVs, movement of helicopters that side, and then suddenly Eastern Ladakh happened, which is massive now. And it was New Indian Express which broke the story on 10th of May, on Sunday. And it happened that they fought with each other, and after that, mutually agreed disputed areas are there. Then there are friction points are there within those mutually agreed disputed areas. So there are lots of aspects to it, and there are layers to the entire issue which is happening there. And as General Huda was talking about, let us understand that these things, these events, or these happenings will increase further. Why so? I mean, there is a reason. If you are building your roads there and your reaction time to the Chinese movement is quicker, you're reaching to the locations fast. So it's going to convert into standoffs. And before that, since you did not have good roads, access points to the inaccessible areas, your movement itself used to take hours for you to move. By that time, Chinese used to come, drop their telltale signs, and move back also. Now that thing has changed. Also, lots of change in the pattern of deployments are there. So the number of such events, which is like transgressions, standoffs and all, they are likely to increase in future.
Okay. In fact, Mayank, I just want to also point out, while you were telling us about that incident, we did play out that visual that you shot, of that time and that banner that the Chinese had got, the conversation that happened, that exclusive visual that you got. We also wanted to show that to our viewers as well. But let me take up from this point and ask a very basic question to General Chauhan. General Shaukin Chauhan, for a layman, the first response is, why is this taking place? What is it that China is trying to show when they come in and retreat in a few hours? If they're not going to settle down there and grab the land itself, then what's the message that China wants to send by these repeated incursions and transgressions?
Tanvi, the idea of China has always been very clear. The idea is to dominate the line of action control, keep pushing the buttons, keep trying to show that they are the people who actually rule the system and not us. And this kind of situation we've been facing for a very long time. As General Huda said earlier, they've been doing it all over the place. Barahoti is a place where they've come many times. 2015, 16, 17, 18, and in 2021 in July also a couple of helicopters have come. So the idea is to dominate the line of action control, show that they are the boss, and keep it to a point at which there is no actual conflict with them, but at the same time tell us that they rule the place. So that's the situation as to why they actually come there and what they actually want from there. They don't want the line of action control to be settled. They want to keep it unsettled and they want to keep us deployed.
It's been okay, so they don't want to let this be an accepted LAC. They don't want this entire dispute to be settled, and they find ways to constantly provoke and send across a message. General Huda, would you agree?
Absolutely.
Would that be the explanation, or is there something that you would want to add to that?
No, Tanvi, it's should I call it? It's military coercion. When you look at long-term objectives of China, what do they want? So they are keen that they must have domination on the global stage, and to do that, the first thing that they have to do is achieve domination in Asia, which is the country that can challenge them. The only country that can challenge them is India. And so what General Chauhan was trying to bring out, that they don't want to settle the border. They want to use that as a pressure point on India. We must militarily coerce India. So all these things, I think, as I said earlier, let's not see them as isolated incidents, but as part of a larger game plan by India to show, by China, to show that, we are a much more superior kind of power, and that India, to some extent, must accept their hegemony in Asia. That, to me, is the larger sort of picture and the larger Chinese game plan.
Then how do we deal with this? That's the big question. Does India's strategy need to change? Captain Ganesh Karnik, we've not officially heard from the government on this incident. No denial, no acknowledgement. 100 soldiers is China coming onto our side, nicely damaging our infrastructure and going back. And we still seem to be talking about China shifting goalposts. I think it's a little bit more than that.
Uh, Good evening, Tanvi. Can you hear me?
I can, absolutely.
Because your last sentence I did not hear properly. But I gather I don't want to take the official line because government of India has not made a statement as such. Good evening to General Huda and all other co-panelists. I'm a much younger army officer with my past experience. I'm not as experienced as generals actually. So my own perspective is the line of actual control has been always hot, or at least they have tried to keep it hot. So this military posturing is for possibly a position of dominance that they want to exhibit, number one. Number two, I think they are catering to certain their domestic issues. What happened in Galwan has not left the Chinese government in good books. The third issue is the radical expansionism as a doctrine, as a policy, which is slightly different from other countries actually, has been their sought after a principle. The free press in India, the free speech available in India, the free market in India has also been used by the Chinese as a part of their military strategy. Now, during the past 7-8 years under the present regime, the government has taken initiative to strengthen our military infrastructure along the border. And I think we have also done substantially well with regard to procuring most modern armament, equipment, and all kinds of military stuff. So, and thirdly, after this COVID, in the international scenario, the China is being cornered. Now, looking at India coming out as a power to be reckoned with, I think this is against their principle of expansionist radicalism. They are militarily posturing, saying that look at us, we are a military power and we are much stronger than anybody else in the neighborhood, and we have issues with the line of actual control, and they have not learned lessons from their Doklam issue or from Galwan issue. So, and this has been happening all these years. It's not that it has happened only recently after Doklam and Galwan. It has been happening at various points from Arunachal Pradesh to Ladakh all these years.
So tell me
And
this,
India-
Captain Karnik. I agree
Yes.
the transgressions have happened for repeatedly over years together. But the point that we're staring at right now is the kind of unprecedented situation we've seen along the LAC in Ladakh over the last 1.5 years has not happened. Coupled with that, what's happening in Uttarakhand, what China is doing in Tibet, what it is that they're continuously still doing very openly and brazenly on the other side in Sikkim, on the other side in Arunachal. There is a larger picture here. And in that scenario, in that situation where they don't think twice before sending in their men, their guns, their horses and whatnot onto our territory, is this the right response where India's envoy to China says, not unusual to have differences and problems. The question is how to deal with it and ensure outcomes are informed by reasonableness, that China keeps changing goalposts. Surely we need to be taking a harder position. You've been an army man. You're always going to be an army man. Tell me if you see this as the right response.
Well, I'm an army man and I've served in Doklam. I've lived in that terrain. The only answer would be become military power of might, number one. Become an economic power in this region. These are the two long-term strategies India has to adopt. And I think right things are being done in the same direction. That is one part. Secondly, when Mr. George Fernandez, Honorable Defense Minister then, when he said more than Pakistan, China is a formidable enemy and they are our number one enemy. India should have considered this perspective from the very beginning. Our Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai and the defeat that we incurred in 1962 war, and subsequently taking them into confidence and getting stabbed at the back. Somewhere down the line, our strategies have not been the right approach towards handling this issue. Current government has been doing wonderfully well from this perspective. All our engagements in last 6-7 years has ensured that we are also militarily posturing in the right direction, and we have sent a message that you cannot take us for granted like earlier regimes. So the best solution for this is become militarily most powerful
Okay.
and economically most powerful nation, and that will send the right kind of signals.
Okay, Adil, Captain Karnik of the BJP says we're sending the message that you can't take us for granted like previous regimes. Your response?
Tanvi, the government of India is in a state of denial. There are eminent military personalities on your panel, and I don't have to tell them that you never appease a bully. You have to confront a bully. By remaining in a state of denial, you are merely emboldening a bully. That is military statecraft 101. The reality is that the Chinese soldiers have made a significant transgression by entering Indian territory to the extent of 5 kilometers and damaging our physical and national infrastructure. And the government of India is maintaining stoic silence. Is this not a sign of denial? Shouldn't the government take this head on? This is a significant act of provocation. In fact, the Congress party would go to the extent that this is a significant act of aggression. And till date, the transgression happened on the 30th of August. Till date, there's not been a single statement. What does the government of India expect? That the Chinese will simply walk away? No, you have to take the bull by the horns. And the previous speaker, the BJP spokesperson, I was quite amused by his presentation. It was Mr. Modi who was doing Jula diplomacy in Ahmedabad. It was Mr. Modi who was doing diplomacy in Malappuram. That was Mr. Modi, not the Congress party. So with due respect, at least, let's not mislead the country on matters of national security. Ask any objective military personnel, and I'm so lucky we have General Huda on the panel. The government of India, by accepting buffer zones in Ladakh, is virtually given away Indian territory. And in the immediate aftermath of Doklam and Galwan, now you have transgressions in Uttarakhand. Therefore, the government of India must take this issue very seriously. And the problem is, Tanvi, and I've said this before on your channel, and so has the Congress party on other platforms, the problem is that Mr. Modi's interest is on domestic outcomes. He wants to maintain and safeguard his image as a local strongman. And to ensure that, he remains in a state of denial. And the country today, and Captain Karnik, who's been a former personnel of the army, has to make a choice. That do you stand with India or do you stand with Mr. Modi's image? Mr. Modi will make any compromises to safeguard his image. His numero uno goal, his entire objective is to safeguard his image. And I urge the government and the powers that be, please do not appease a bully by remaining in a state of denial. The Chinese will continue to push the envelope. We must take them head on. And this is a significant act of provocation by the Chinese.
Okay, just that aspect, Captain Ganesh Karnik. Do not appease a bully. Stand up to the bully. Let's not be in denial, because they're going to continue pushing more and more. They may come in 10 steps and then retreat 8, and then you're not going to argue with them for the other 2 steps. That's what it's looking like.
I respectfully acknowledge the amusement of my co-panelist. I think he has been under amusement for the past 30, 40 years since 1962. And please wait and see. Government will not take it lying down. And his observation on Mr. Modi's policies, personal view, I don't want to comment on that. But I think the efforts of this government during the past 7, 8 years in strengthening the army, strengthening the border security issues, providing good quality infrastructure, spending a huge amount of money on procurement of arms and ammunition, itself will speak whether Mr. Modi is trying to appease only the domestic crowd, or he has got a larger design as far as border security is concerned. Keeping it aside, amusement is a part of his observation. Keeping it aside, I personally feel government at the right time will definitely answer. May not have come out in the open, but maybe I told you in the beginning itself, I don't have the official line of the government. But I personally feel this government will not take it lying down. if there has been aggression, as you have rightly brought it out, government will have a strategy to counter it.
Okay, we can wait and watch and see what that is, what that's going to be. For now, the government hasn't even acknowledged this, let alone give us a larger statement on what's going on. A year and a half since these, since the very, very significant transgressions in Ladakh began, and now in Uttarakhand. But coming back to a larger picture, and to our two army experts who are sitting here, General Hooda, to you. Today is also the day where officially the army came out and gave us the details of the Uri operation coming to an end after 10 days. Them managing to capture 2 Pakistani terrorists, one of them alive, but 2 of them who were actually inside our territory. The dual challenge of a Pakistan now emboldened by perhaps Taliban in Afghanistan constantly pushing in from their end, and China, which is nicely walking in whenever they feel like. Is this dual challenge becoming a bigger headache today than it was, say, 10 years ago or 5 years ago?
No, Tanvi, it is, and I think we need to accept that. I think with politicians on the panel, it sometimes becomes difficult. But let me try and put it in a completely professional perspective. Our feeling for a long time has been that China is one country that we can manage because of our diplomacy, because of our political relations, because of our trade links, etc., etc. And there has been, unnecessary focus on Pakistan. I think that needs to now change. I think what the Ladakh intrusions have shown is that you are now seriously facing a challenge on 2 fronts and 2 threats. That needs a complete sort of rethinking and rehaul of our strategy. It needs a rehaul of our diplomacy. Every government does its best. I mean, I've served 40 years in the army. I have not seen a government which is not sensitive to national security interests. Let me just say that upfront. No government has said we don't bother about national security. I think challenges, we are going through a time where challenges change, and we need to be flexible enough to respond to those challenges. And that, to me, is something. The 2-front threat, which a lot of people dismissed in the past, saying, the military is only propping up this 2-front because they want more resources. I think that is before us, and that challenge needs to be tackled head on by the government.
Would you say that we should have started moving on doing that in a year ago or 2 years ago, that we're already behind the curve, because it would mean upgradation of our military, of our equipment, re-strategizing, redrawing the way our military is deployed along these borders?
I won't say that. So if you actually see our raising of 2 divisions in 2009-10, the raising of the Mountain Strike Corps started in 2013. The improvement of infrastructure, the road building, the plan was made in 2006-7. There has been, in the last 4-5 years, a great push towards trying to build those roads. So I think the understanding was there that China is going to become a sort of a future strategic challenger for India. I just think we need to give a little pace to it.
Okay. No. Okay. General Shaukin Chauhan, your view on the same thing. Should we now at least admit and accept the fact this kind of a situation is here to stay? So we need more infrastructure. We need better and more permanent infrastructure along the border. High level of troop deployment along this LAC and LOC is perhaps now a permanent reality and not seasonal.
Absolutely, Tanvi, I agree with General Hooda. We've been doing this actually over the last 10, 15 years. We've been raising our troop levels, raising our capability to deal with these twin challenges of Pakistan and China. And as of course, the ultimate scenario of Pakistan and China operating in concert with each other is something that we always talked about. But we always thought that probably China would be dealt with diplomatically. But over the last 3 to 4 years, it's quite clear that China is operating in concert with Pakistan. Now, an issue about what happened in Uri or the issue that Taliban have now taken over Afghanistan and therefore would be able to push more terrorists inside our country. I have only one thing to say. From 1995 onwards, when Taliban 1.0 had taken over, and they were actually trying to push terrorists, we could deal with them then, and we can deal with them now. The only issue is that we have to be prepared. We have to be very clear in our abilities to deal with them, and I'm certain that we will be able to deal with them. I have no doubt about that. And as General Huda says, we've been increasing this capability of ours over the last 10, 15 years. And things have also come to a head now. Over the last 1 year, we've had several new roads made. And now yesterday's news is that 17 Corps has also been fully operationalized. So I'm certain that we'll be able to deal with this issue. And yes, the army grid is strengthened quite a bit. We have quite a few forces already in front on the border. And I don't think that we are going to be at a disadvantage over the next couple of years. But we need to keep our powder dry and we need to keep our guard up all the time.
Yes, Mayank, would you want to come in here as well? Because like we said, transgressions may have happened on and off, but it's the scale and the frequency of which that we're talking about. Is there an understanding within the corridors of government that our strategy need to change? And by that, I don't mean to question or doubt the fact whether the Indian military and the Indian forces can take on a dual challenge, but whether we are thinking and aligning on those lines.
I would like to admit that government has realized actually in a way that China will be the foremost adversary, or they have to handle China first. And in that case, we have to understand that the format of war and the way the military has to be deployed, or the war will be fought in the future. Will it be war of attrition, which is man-to-man fighting, or will it be a hybrid war, or war which will start within the country first and then it will be a kind of the format of war has also changed. And for that, India has to acquire lots of high-end technology. India has to, change the formats, and lots of restructuring is also happening in terms of structure of the armed forces, in terms of deployment of the armed forces, in terms of armaments, in terms of, doctrines also. So, and as I said in the beginning, this is going to become a continuous affair now. Lots of friction points will arise, and China has been deploying this strategy. They don't let you sit down, at ease, and they will keep propping up places like they started with Nakula, and you never knew that they are coming to Finger Four, which is Pangong Tso, and then when what started at Finger Four actually spread out to Hot Spring, to Galwan, to Depsang, and all those areas, and Barahut. These names will keep adding to it. So we have to understand that not only be fought at the borders, it has to be dealt with at various levels. Also, as the panelists had been saying, you don't complain because your neighbors are building a good house, or you don't complain because your neighbors are making good roads. You don't complain them. You start building your own house good. Yeah. You start creating your own resources. And if the world order is changing, now let us take it to the global stage. The world order is changing. Lots of things are happening. Maybe the world is again turning bipolar. And if it is again turning bipolar, you have to come down to a level wherein you have to strategize, you have to make friends. And friends at the level of real politics. Friends at the level of actual understanding and give and take. Because if US is doing something, it is going to do things for its own good. The primary aim will be for doing good for itself. And if it is aligning with whatever you call Australia, UK and US, it is for its own good. Quad has its own utility. These formats are changing. The world over, the configurations are changing. Who would have thought that UAE and Israel will become friends? Right. So see, there are major changes happening, and India has to become part of it in a very studied manner. But having said that, let us agree to it. India has been neglecting this northern borders since quite long, and better that focus remains on China, and we understand them. Chinese have done well for themselves, and let us understand that in terms of economic aspects, in terms of military aspect, in terms of, again, gaining over the countries
influence,
Yeah,
which can
and,
be
and,
whether
and, I, and I want to
yeah.
highlight one thing, Mayank. You're absolutely right, and it's at the government level that I would say this, that we've ignored this problem, or if we've seen the other way. Captain Ganesh Karnik, when the Ladakh incursions began, when the first set of stories actually came in early summer of 2020, there was absolutely no acknowledgement. There were some indirect, dismissals that actually came from the government until things became so heated and Galwan Clash was staring at our face. This time again, in between we celebrated all, the withdrawal, the disengagement, we've managed to push them back at X location and Y location, and finger 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is getting resolved. But when things are happening in Uttarakhand, we're again gone into a quiet mode. Now, how do you explain this kind of a dual standards by the government? There needs to be a very clear strategy in dealing with China and in communicating to the people of this country on what is happening.
I respect the concern that is expressed through your voice. Getting into the nitty-gritty, not informed, government did not react. But I will categorically say that nation first is the policy. And in the diplomatic front, keeping this threat in mind, India has been doing substantially well. The Quad is a focus in this direction. In the South Pacific area, the kind of collaboration that this government has been able to, develop in the last 7, 8 years is in this direction. So I would like to comment on why government did not bring it to the public notice, why it did not react. Reaction will be in action, not in just words. That's what I said. Just wait and see.
So, what to your mind, Captain Ganesh Karnik, what has been that reaction that we've actually given to China in the last 2 years?
Have faith in the system. Have faith in the armed forces. Have the faith in the security
I have
forces.
complete faith in the armed forces. It's the government strategy that I'm questioning.
Government is capable of deploying its forces along the border and take such initiatives which will give the right kind of answer to the aggressive posture made by the Chinese government. What happened in Galwan Valley is an eye-opener. Actually, we did not take it lying down. And India has never been an aggressor. All these years, India has never done it. But this has been happening from Chinese front, from the Pakistan front all these years. And it's not the first time it is happening. It has happened even before this government came into power. But government, besides safeguarding the interests along the border and giving befitting answer, it has also taken initiatives to ensure that it is just not giving answer alone. It is empowering the armed forces with the suitable, arms and ammunition and equipment and infrastructure and all kinds of things. So I told you in the beginning, the answer is becoming militarily strong and becoming economically strong. And this is the strategy with which government is functioning, and nation first is the policy. And keeping in view of this nation first policy, government has made the right kind of connection with all the important nations. And I said before, Quad is the culmination of that effort. And this will definitely take care of our relationship with China, if not immediately, in the future days to come. And government is on the right direction in this regard.
Okay, very quickly to our experts, before I wrap this up, General Huda, to you on the Ladakh front, we did manage to, at least the government came out and said the disengagement in 3 of those key locations had been completed. But again, recent reports suggest that we are in a deadlock. There isn't another date for the next round of conversation to finish that process. Does it look like we are in a sticky situation again while these transgressions are happening in other regions?
So, Tanvi, my own sense is, whatever has happened at Pangong Tso, the disengagement there at Gogra, etc., I think it's a step forward. It to me indicates that even the Chinese, despite whatever they're doing, they don't want to take things beyond a particular level at this stage. I mean, nobody is looking for conflict. Depsang in the Ladakh remains a sticking point. It's going to be a sticking point because it's strategically valuable for both sides. And I think really Chinese intentions will be revealed by what they do in the disengagement at Depsang. It's not going to be easy. they have got some advantages, over the Indian military at Ladakh. They are not going to let go of this very easily. But overall, I think at least there are some positives to take away from Ladakh.
Oh, yes, like you rightly pointed out, General Chauhan, the Gogra disengagement is complete, which is the last big one that the government confirmed. But Depsang still continues to be a problem. Now, is there anything beyond a military strategy that we need to look at? Does it have to be taken up in any other format, at any other platform, or will there be a military solution to that?
It cannot be a single military solution. It has to be dealt with in a whole of nation approach. Yeah, the diplomats have to play their role. But militarily, we have to keep our powder dry, Tanvi. There is, as General Hooda said, engaging us in a direct conflict. It is a situation where they come in, bite a little, and go back again. And it becomes difficult for us to respond. And respond we are. We are responding in every possible way to make sure that their bullying does not create a problem for us. Militarily, I don't believe we've lost any kind of terrain. And we've been capable of holding them on at each point. But it requires the whole of nation. We have to deal with China in a larger perspective. We have to deal with them with trade. We have to deal with them economically. We have to deal with them politically. And we have to deal with them diplomatically. As far as the army is concerned, and the armed forces are concerned, I am clear about, and the army is clear about what we have to do in case of a conflict. We've war gamed whatever we have to do, and I'm certain there should be no problem there.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to say a big thank you to all of the panelists who've joined us on this conversation and helped really put this in perspective. To me, it is a very big development, a very big story that came in the Economic Times today, reported by Manu Pabi, that 100 Chinese soldiers came about 5 kilometers inside our territory, spent a few hours, damaged our infrastructure, including a bridge, and went back. At a time where we are talking about disengagement in the Ladakh region, at a time when we are talking about taking on China economically, militarily, diplomatically, it is the repeated provocations from China that are continuing. Just another clear message that this problem isn't going away. Now, do we have a clear strategy to deal with it? Or are we simply looking and staring at a situation where, just like China, we continue to build more infrastructure along the line of actual control, we continue to deploy more and more troops, upgrade and spend money on our military to take on this challenge? Is that the only way to handle it? Well, I would say the first step is the government actually telling us what is going on. Thank you for joining us on this conversation.